Hey guys, just hanging up in the mountains. Do a little vlog here. Just had a pretty good birthday. Turned 49, and just trying to reassess my life a bit and look at the last 20 years been telemarketing. Various different call centers selling Careflight teddy bears and different types of charities, RSPCA, PCYC, and I've just been gardening at the moment, and it's been quite good. And I did 13 years of therapy from the year 2000 to 2013, and it's quite interesting. I spent about $250,000 on therapy, and I guess I just thought I'd give back to the world what I thought it was all like, and essentially it was quite interesting. The first one I did was Primal Therapy. I was looking at the idea of that pain, that primal pain. Apparently, John Lennon and Yoko Ono did that same primal therapy, or at least John Lennon did anyway, with Arthur Yanov. He was inspired by that book, Primal Scream, and I was too. I read that Arthur Yanov book, and it's a lot of screaming. A lot of sort of lying down and getting into the feeling of what it was like as a child. Maybe it was difficult to come out of the womb and all that sort of thing. And I did a 3-week intensive in Melbourne and in Australia, which was about $7,000. I've done a lot of different types of modalities. Primal therapy for 3 years. After that, I did sort of group therapy kind of scenario, a lot of 12 steps. I saw a counsellor, and he recommended 12 steps, and that was quite interesting. And then I changed counsellors to a psychiatrist for 7 years. During that time, psychiatry is just a lot more sit upright and more standard kind of therapy. And counselling, group therapy is more with people, just looking at that sort of group scenario. Of course, psychiatry can be about better living through chemistry, which I have done, and there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. 12 steps, AA, Narcotics Anonymous, Gambling Anonymous, Al-Anon. I think they're all good. I was kind of a tourist a lot of those different programs, and I'd recommend, sort of that sort of scenario. I think they're quite good if you have some addiction, some problem to give up, and it's always worthwhile if you like to get a lot more socialization, and so then within that time I also did Landmark Forum, the Hothman Process. Hothman Process is quite interesting. It's a 1-week intensive. It was another $7,000. What else? I remember one thing in the Hothman Process. You kind of sit down at a river and imagine what your father's father life was like, and the hardships that he went through. So I found that quite interesting, and I'd recommend that process. It's quite interesting. Landmark Forum, I did the basic, advanced, and the leadership course. It's always worthwhile. I think it's an interesting process. Landmark Forum. It's more about looking at your rackets and your strong suits and all that sort of thing. You're already always listening. they talk about you wearing glasses and you're looking through that at life with a particular type of thought structure, and it's interesting. Someone told me that Barack Obama's team had all done Landmark Forum. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it was quite interesting. So yeah, just using this interesting VHS app. I was brought up with VHS, and you don't see much VHS these days. But yeah, it's quite an interesting little app. Just trying out my new iPhone 7 to do this vlog. So yeah, just looking at some of the programs, some of the kind of self-development works. I did Anthony Robbins. That was very good. The Unleash the Power Within. He gets you to walk across 2,000-degree hot coals. It's a very transformative process. I'd recommend that as well. For sure. It's interesting. And I even volunteered. Got to shake Anthony Robbins' hand. It was very good. Got up on stage with about 200 volunteers. And yeah, that was quite an interesting process. So yeah, I think therapy and these courses, they're all worthwhile. I sort of stopped therapy in 2013. I kind of was focusing on my obsession of snowboarding. Went to Alaska, and I've been around the world snowboarding, Japan particularly. And yeah, so I guess the self-inquiry has been quite a interesting ride, and I think it's important for people to analyse, have a look at those areas in their life. Maybe they've got some early childhood trauma, some abuse to look at. Definitely therapy is worthwhile, and all that pain, that needs to be looked at. I even worked with an interesting psychiatrist, Dr. Paul Vierschak, who wrote the book Help Me, I'm Tired of Feeling Bad. I did a 3-day course with him in Melbourne, and he is basically similar to Arthur Yanov, that idea of going back to that early trauma and unfolding that pain. It's all very interesting material. That book is actually free online. You can actually have a look at that. And he actually dealt with sexual abuse as well, and he dealt with all that, which is can be a real issue for people, and especially women. It's very traumatizing, and men as well. I guess it's a huge problem. And yeah, so all that trauma, all that pain needs to be dealt with. Get a counsellor if you have some of these issues. And I've done a lot of therapy. In the last few years, I've kind of left the rivers of understanding, as it were. I've sort of come off the road less travelled. Scott Peck talks about that. That was my first book in recovery, actually. And it's quite a good book, actually. I'd recommend that. And but yeah, I sort of dabbled with sort of marijuana and this, that, and the other, and I've stopped all that these days. And yeah, I'm just sort of dealing with it in some ways just by my own self-inquiry. And yeah, I think there's nothing like just getting sober and looking at all these issues, and having it unfold. And yeah, and actually I did Mankind Project too, MKP. That's another good one. I'd recommend that. It's a good one for men to deal with their pain. Actually, yeah, it's a very, very good. The Weekend Warrior. You can actually look up mkp.org. It's a very interesting process. And yeah, it's looks at the archetypes, and highly recommend that for pain and looking at sort of developing yourself as a man. And it's I guess it's a rite of passage. It's very strong, very, very powerful process. You come out with an animal name. My name is Snowy Owl Descending on Hare, and that is also a very good process. I mean, in some ways, in retrospect, I think, God, I probably could have bought a house with the $250,000 I've spent on therapy, but I think it's highly recommended to get professional help if you need it. And there's nothing wrong with better living through chemistry. I personally don't like to do drugs or alcohol these days. I'm a lot more just focusing on clean living. I did a 10K bike ride today, and bike riding's fantastic. And Anthony Robbins, he was very, very positive. He talks about the triad, which is basically physiology, focus, language. So you can change your physiology, stand up straight. Your focus, look at, the half is glass. The glass is half full, so you can be positive thinking. Physiology, focus, and language. I'm so happy I can't stop smiling. So yeah, you can, through those three things, you can change your mental state, and also getting the knack, neuro-associative conditioning. All of this stuff can be used, to give up these different issues. But that's pretty much about it. And have a great evening. That's the end of this vlog.